it's hot. Pretty much it doesn't matter where you are. The east coast of the United States is going to be extremely hot, especially in the southeast. I'm in Florida and the temperatures are above 100. I'm here on Reverie today because I've been tied up. My wife had a hip surgery, so I've been helping her with that recovery. So we're getting on the other side of that hump. So I have a couple hours to come in and try to one little project on Reverie. So the project I'm tackling is our water pump on the air conditioner started leaking. Let me show you on the new pump. So our marine air conditioners require a pump, which basically pulls salt water, runs it through the coils, and that's what absorbs the heat out of the unit and lets, dries up the air, which turns into, cold air. Basically, it's air without humidity. Now, the way these pumps are designed, they have this little tubes where the water runs, and these are high pressure points, and they have a little thimble or a little rubber gasket. I see if you can see it right there. And if for some reason you get any kind of contamination, if you had any barnacles come through the strainer and little pieces like that, that will start clogging this little thimble here, or pretty much this compartment. And what it does is it blocks it, and then it starts leaking backwards on the pipe through that little thimble you see right there. So I have a seaflow pump currently on my air conditioner. When I talk to the folks at French and Marine, this is what they recommended. This is a cool air pump 500-115. It has basically it pumps 500 gallons per cycle. So this is what we're going to replace it. So I have to remove the old pump, reconnect the hoses on this one, connect the electric end to the air conditioner controller, and we should be able to have our air conditioner back on track. I have a couple hours. Let's see if this turns out to be a nice easy project or if it turns out to be a nightmare project. So let's get started. Everything on a small boat, you got to take everything out to work on the area you're going to work on. I keep saying I'm getting to the end of the projects. One of those days is actually going to come to reality. And when I do, I'll be able to get rid of all these boxes and open up the space. Getting little things done should not be as troublesome as it is right now. All right, first things first, we're going to close and that's where our pump is located. It's mounted on the bulkhead. Hopefully it won't be too hard to get it out of there. Okay, next thing is I'm going to shut off the water on the manifold. And the reason I'm doing that is I want to keep water on the manifold so the pump doesn't run a whole lot of time without water flow, even though the pump is designed to prime from no water to water. So that shouldn't be a problem. But I'm also going to take advantage that I'm getting myself in here and rerun these hoses a little bit differently so they don't have that tight of a kink on the way, so it'll make life a little easier. We have to unhook the pump over there. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to unhook the pump before I start working. And you can see everything is labeled on the pump. So I'm going to disconnect the cable and then I can remove the pump from the bulkhead. Yeah, the cable disconnected is kind of a tight spot. You're trying not to drop anything that you're going to need to put back on. You got everything removed. Got it here in the lid for the container. And now I'm going to continue removing the pump. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the hoses at the pump right here and right here. And the reason I'm doing that is so there's going to be some water draining because it's not going to hold everything. So I want to have that water go into a container instead of just going into the bilge. Let me get something to wrap that with. Okay, we're going to take the clamps on the pump side. Now, that's the challenge with small boats. As much as you try to make things accessible, there's always a level of contortion involved. So here's the pump. I need to take both of these fittings out to put it on the new pump, but you can see right there the level of corrosion that accumulated. And this pump I bought brand new is a seaflow pump, 500 gallon, 250 psi, 500 psi pump for the air conditioner. And 2 years, this is how much corrosion it accumulated. I'm gonna clean it out later and see if I can salvage it for a spare because it still works. It's just leaking. And if it's too bad, once I get all this corrosion out of here, I may just trash it, kind of buy another one just to keep as a spare. All right, let's get working on hooking up the old pump. All right, so now that we got our pump out, I'm going to check a couple of things. One is, are the spots where the mounting screws go, are they going to be the same, or I'm going to have a challenge basically making new holes? And two, can I reuse the fittings? So all of these fittings are plastic. So one of the things people have a bad habit of doing is over tightening it. You want to make sure that you're careful. You tighten them up so they're tight enough so they don't leak, but not over tightened to where you're going to stress them or or break them or cross thread them. Because on plastic, there's no coming back from that. I started loosening this up with a little wrench, just nice and easy working it. Keep going as soon as I can get it to by hand. This one I already loosened up, so I'm going to finish taking it off by hand. And there's a little bit of dirt there. That's from the brackish water. It looks like they put a little plumber's putty just to make sure there's a good seal in there, and same in here. You know, in addition to that, the other thing we're trying to gauge is, are the holes for mounting exactly the same? And thankfully, these are a perfect match. So as far as strapping this back to the bulkhead, should be fine. The size is about the same, so it should go pretty much in the same exact spot. So those are things you have to pay attention to when you're doing, you know, removing something and you're going to replace it. This pump is going to go like this, mounted on the bulkhead. You know, see how nice and clean that looks compared to this over here. I'm going to get this fittings hooked up. The other thing we have to do is set up for the electric. So I already strip and peel these, but I have to put some little loops, and I'll use heat shrink versions just to make sure everything is nice and watertight, even though this cables go in a box that's sealed. I'm not going to have a problem with that. I need to put the camera down while I get some of this stuff done. I'll show you as soon as it's ready. All right, so we got our fittings back on, electric connection ready. What I did is I added a length of hose so I can eliminate the kinks on this hose going forward. So I'll cut this to the proper length once I get everything back in the box. Let's put it back together and see if we can cool ourselves with the air conditioner. All right, we're working. I don't have a lot of room to get myself and the camera, but I did get the pump back on. Now I'm going to reattach. We got all the plumbing hooked back up. I'm going to hook up the electric, and then we'll start testing everything, but I gotta move the camera out of the way to get that job done. So back in a sec. We have everything hooked back up. Open everything up, and I'm gonna turn the AC on and see what we got. All right, so that concludes this episode. We got the AC running again. It's gonna take a couple hours for things to cool down here in the cabin. So with that, you know, if you enjoyed this video, so please subscribe to our channel. We share everything that we're doing on Reverie, and hopefully they'll help you with your projects. With all that, thank you for watching, and see you in the next episode.